So here's the deal with dopamine. It's amazing for getting us excited about new things, but it isn't meant to keep us motivated long term. Dopamine's main job is to make us crave novelty and goals, but it doesn't actually help us enjoy the process of working towards them. Once the novelty wears off, we need to switch to intrinsic motivation, where we connect with the joy of the journey rather than just the end goal. Today, I'm going to show you how to use Trello and ChatGPT in a way that keeps the excitement alive, so you're more likely to finish and love your creative project. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is set up our Trello board. If you've never used Trello before, it's a great way to visually map out your ideas and track your progress. This is a free platform unless you want to pay for power-ups, which I have a lot of free boards. I do not pay for any of their power-ups, and I use this all the time. So the first thing that you're going to do is create a new board, which is found right here where it says create. And we're going to go ahead and hit where it says create board. So when you are creating this board, you want to name the board around the project that matters to you and why you're doing it. And this is important because it keeps you connected to your why. That way, when your dopamine fizzles out, you still are very motivated to finish this project. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my board name right here. And I'm actually going to type in Canva tutorials. Actually, no, I'm going to type in brand tutorials because that's something that I'm creating right now, even in this video. And I'm going to go ahead and check my workspace. I have multiple workspaces, so I'm going to make sure that I want this on Intuitive Heart Creations. Then I'm going to go ahead and hit create right here at the bottom. And this is going to bring us into our first board. Some of the things that you can do while you're in here is change your background. I love changing my background and making it something that is aligned with what I'm doing in the board. So I'm going to go down here. I have created some content that I like to put in the back of my board. So this one says creativity is remembering your God power. And I really love that reminder. So the first thing that we're going to do is go through your list. What is a list? And for your project stages, I'm going to go ahead and hit add list. And for this first one right here, I'm going to put inspiration. And then it'll prompt me to go over to my next list. In this next list, I'm going to put planning, in progress, feedback, and then I'm going to go over here to my last one, and I'm going to say completed. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is start adding some cards. I like to call this a brain dump. And I am going to put all of the things right here that have inspired me for this entire project. This connects to your why of the brand tutorials or whatever you named your project. So under inspiration, I'm going to write tools for creative entrepreneurs, videos, step by step for Trello, social media planning. Now I'm going to show you how to open up these cards. So it kind of goes from order of, I like to set them up order of importance first, and then we start to break them down. And if you get a really big idea halfway down through your brain dump, and just go in here and just write all of the reasons that you're inspired to do what you're doing. For me, it is this bigger one first. So tools for creative entrepreneurs. That's kind of the bigger thing that I'm going to be creating. How I'm going to be doing that is videos. And then some of the things that I'm going to be sharing are how to plan your social media. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this card. I'm going to hit right here. All you do is hit this little pencil right here on the side. And I'm going to open up this card. So now it opens up an area where you can collaborate with other people. So if you are sharing a project with other people, you can go ahead and put like a Google Doc right here. You can link right here. Another thing that I like to use is checklists, and I'll show you how to use that in a little bit. And then you can also set dates. So say I want to finish this by, let me go in here. So say I want to finish this by the 30th. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. It will notify me via email as I'm getting closer to that deadline. And then I'm going to go ahead and click exit. And I'm going to show you how we start using the planning process using ChatGPT. Okay, so these are your project stages, right? You're going to go from inspiration to planning. And then once you have the planning done, you can start with in progress for your project. And then after your project is finished, then you can set up kind of your feedback. I'm really putting this out there as a very generic template because you might not have this feedback right here if you are just finishing an art project at home. It may just go from in progress to completed. But if you're creating something like social media content, then you can track your feedback right here. That way, say for this YouTube video, I need to change out a thumbnail. I can track what I have done right here in the feedback column. So this is a really good way also to stay on track without getting overwhelmed by seeing the big picture and seeing where you're at in your progress. So this is where ChatGPT comes in. And we're going to use ChatGPT to help with executive function. If you struggle with executive function or you're kind of a procrastinator and you easily get overwhelmed, this is going to be a really important tool for you, which is ChatGPT. And the way that I use ChatGPT is breaking things down into the smallest obtainable goal for a larger project. So right here at the top, you can see I typed in, help me plan a YouTube video on how to use Trello for creative entrepreneurs with ADHD with steps like niche discovery, script writing, thumbnail creation, summary of the podcast. Break each larger goal into the smallest obtainable goal. This is really important for what you're doing in your board. So now ChatGPT is going to give you a list of things that you're going to do with the goal at the top. So right here it says introduce Trello as a powerful tool for organization and project management. These are the steps. This is what we need right here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy all of this information that I see right here, and I'm going to go back to my board, and then under planning, I'm going to go ahead and paste this, and I'm going to hit enter. It's going to ask me if I want to create 3 cards or just 1 card. If I created just 1 card, it would look like this, the explain Trello and its benefits. That is the bigger goal. We want it to be broken into the smallest goal. So we're going to hit create 3 cards. Now we're in the planning stage. We have write the hook, define your audience, outline the benefits. So our hook that we're going to write, it gave us an example right here, but if you didn't have this example or you wanted to change it, you go ahead and edit card. That gives you the ability to kind of copy and paste out of this. I like them to be smaller like this, but we're going to go ahead and open the card. And then right inside here is where you're going to put the hook. So paste. And then you could get rid of this part. If you're a creative entrepreneur with ADHD, staying organized can be a challenge, but Trello might just be the game changer you need. Now that's a pretty good hook. I usually like to include a little bit of my personality and things like this, but you can just go ahead and hit save. This also helps you when you are bringing other people in on your projects, because I have the description of what I am doing and how I'm accomplishing that. So say I'm finished with my hook. So planning is done. I'm going to go ahead and put in progress because we've already started right here in writing our hook, right? When I'm finished with it, if I decide that's the hook I'm going to use, I would go over and put it under completed. Now that's that hit of dopamine that you are looking for, or that's that feeling of accomplishment and motivation that's going to keep you in your project continuously moving forward. Also, one of the things that ChatGPT does is it starts from the very beginning and lists everything out. So for example, sometimes I like to make the images for a video first, but that's not really smart if I haven't recorded the podcast, because I might talk about some important things that I want to add into my YouTube video or my podcast. So one thing that ChatGPT does really well is allows us to see which thing we're starting with first, and how we're moving down, because these are important for the intro, the major goal for what we're talking about. But this is the list of how we can accomplish that. Another thing I want to highlight is something that you can do between your ChatGPT and Trello board, which is create a checklist. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste these things. This is the Trello setup for ADHD creatives. This is the goal, is creating a practical guide. So we're going to go back to plan tutorial and we're going to hit planning, create 4 cards. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this one. I saw it beforehand. I'm going to slide it over into progress. This is just an example. You should start from the top down, but I wanted to show you how to create a checklist. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, because what ChatGPT did is actually tell us multiple things that we should do within one task, which is setting up the columns. As you can see, I have multiple columns throughout here. I didn't use this before I started the video, so these might give us different columns, but I'm going to go ahead and copy. I'm going to delete that, hit save. I'm going to open up my card, and I'm going to go down or over into checklist, and then I'm going to hit add. So this is now a separate checklist. Oh, I copied it all in one. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete some of these steps. So the first one, explain how to create columns, add item. The next one, niche discovery, add card. The next one, script writing, add card. And you can see how is a smaller part of the columns process in this video. So when I'm finished with the columns video, so say the goal for this card is to set up and let people know what a column is and how to set it up. The first thing that I would do is explain how to create columns. The second thing that I would do is start setting up the columns. So I can even write my script up here for this portion of the video. And one thing that Trello does is when you're finished with all of the columns, it gives you this 100% checklist at the bottom. And so then I can see, oh, wow, these are all crossed out. That's that other hit that I'm talking about, where you could break it into a small goal, and you can even break it into even smaller goals to finish that task. So then we come here and you can see that this shows us 3 out of 3. We're done with setting up columns. So we're going to pick it up and we're going to put it over here in our completed. So that's a really good way that ChatGPT is helping us to break things down into the smallest obtainable goal. You can see how small these goals are. And if something isn't aligned with your goal, your niche, your audience, your craft, your project, then you can just ask ChatGPT to change certain parts of it before you put it over in your Trello board. So now that I've showed you how things work, there are some takeaways for how to keep your project engaging, how to actually bring out your oxytocin and serotonin throughout this process. And the first thing that is really important is going back to your why on a consistent basis, reminding yourself what your inspiration was and why you're doing that project. That really brings in your intrinsic motivator, and intrinsic motivators are actually the biggest motivators. I'll give an example. An extrinsic motivator is that you go to a job that you're getting paid for, right? The motivation is outside of you. The motivation is money. That's why you would continue to go to that job. But an intrinsic motivator is something that you love to do for the sake of doing it. So if you're a creative and you love painting, you love sharing your message, you love sharing your purpose, purpose is actually the highest intrinsic motivator, because you're going to do it regardless of outside forces. It's something that comes from within that motivates you. So coming back to your why is a really big is a really big motivator throughout the project, and it'll keep your project alive for you. And then the next one is celebrating your small wins. Make sure that you're going over to your board and you're checking things off. As you're doing that, getting really excited about, wow, look at all these things that I finished. Maybe if this is a longer project, if this is going to take a few weeks, to go back and look at the things that you have finished to remind yourself of how far you've come.